try to do it quieter, I'm realizing that's annoying and jarring. So I have to figure something out. I want to get one of those trumpets too. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea, high like an eagle. Let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free. Oh Lord, through the revolution, feed the baby who don't have enough to eat. Shoot the children with no shoes on their feet. How's the people living in the street? Oh, there's a solution. Wanna fly like an eagle to the sea, fly like an eagle. Let my spirit carry me. I wanna fly like an eagle till I'm free. Fly through the revolution. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Want to fly like an eagle to the sea, fly like an eagle. Let your spirit carry me. I wanna fly like an eagle till I'm free. Fly through the revolution. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Hello and welcome to the Good Info Cafe, where multiple intelligences meet each day. Or hello and welcome to the Good Info Cafe. Well, forget it. Meet each day, day, whatever. I'm info artist JK. I'm the teacher and the sinner. So get ready for some nectarous music, for delicious fun, cage-free hope, and big, serious, helpful, organic concepts in the pursuit of truth. And I do want, one of the subjects today is, well, transparency is part of it. So I want you to know when I'm doing the horn and I can't get any sound out of it, I cuss, I say, I don't use God's name in vain, but I am a human like everybody else. You knew that. I guess I'm just trying to say transparency, how much, you don't want too much dirty laundry, but I'm not trying to be slick, but I am trying to deliver good quality. So good, reliable information, but quality music, that kind of thing. So, subject. Oh, that was Fly Like an Eagle by Steve Miller, for those who didn't know. And yes, my shofar, I'm realizing is probably too loud and annoying, but I still want to start with it at the beginning. So I'm going to come up with something. My subject is to explain and show my format notes. Real transparency. I want to be transparent. So I do have notes because I go all over. Now, there's a time I don't have notes. I'll just do whatever and maybe follow this, maybe not. I think there's been a couple times. But there you go. My subject for the day, miscellaneous, is transparency, dirty laundry, what's appropriate, QOD, question of the day, and I'm going to grade the IRS. I'm going to try to grade the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. My next door neighbor, he was on this side, when I lived in that deep state neighborhood where the Beltway was my backyard. Said probably 10 words to him. His son was a good friend, played sports with, and he had a kind of a Marine haircut, and he was the counsel for the IRS. His name, you saw at some level, like the late 60s, early 70s, his name was signed. He had the commissioner of the IRS, and this guy was the counsel, the one counsel lawyer for the IRS. And then he was a really nice guy, and I really liked his son. I'm still in touch with his son. I texted. He's down south, but in the 80s, he was jogging along the towpath, which is where they used to have the barges that would take all the goods, all the merchandise on barges up into Ohio from the Chesapeake through DC. So there's a jogging towpath between where they would have the barges and the Potomac River, and he was jogging and he was murdered, killed. And it's very sad, like mid 80s. And I think he was also CIA. My neighborhood had lots of CIA or people who did work for the CIA. And I think I mentioned it before. The Q of James Bond, the one who made all the gadgets, was in Potomac, not in my neighborhood, but in Potomac, Maryland, near Bethesda, Maryland. And we found that after he passed away. I just found this out like 5 months ago, this summer, that Paul Maddox was Q. You can look it up. I don't think it's out there, but he's passed away, and he was a super nice guy. And I was in shows. I was in Everything's Up to Date in Kansas City, and gone about as far as they could go. Name this musical. So that's the trivia question for today. What musical does that come from? They're gone. Where is it? Everything was. Oh, forget it. About as far as that building ought to go. All right, so Everything's Up to Date in Kansas City. What musical is that from? It's anyway. He did the props. So here he is making deadly secret things at the CIA, and then at night and on weekends when we had our shows, we would rehearse for 3 or a month or whatever. He was the nice guy, the older gentleman, who made the props. And one time, I think a show my mother was in, there was a prop where you had to throw what looked like a knife, and it had to pop out to make it look like it landed right next to the person. And he's like, "Oh, I can do that." And he did. Made it look like these amateurs could do that. Anyway, pretty funny. Kind of giving perspective from where I'm from. I didn't know. I probably looked at it as a deep state neighborhood 3 years ago when I moved to the Nashville area with my young family. And I wrote a book about America called The A Club, and eventually I'll make it available. That's when I started to get more of a perspective of where I came from. I had to be out of it. Now, I did live in Santa Barbara, California when I was younger. I was a ski instructor at Breckenridge in Colorado, and I lived in Florida where I played with Gerd Mueller when we scrimmaged against the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. I was recruited by the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, but I was I was confused. I wasn't sure, but I went towards music. Anyway, where was I? A transparency. How much should I tell? And I expect whatever I do in general, I expect my visitors or my contributors to give that also. I'm not just going to give everything about my past, good and bad, without expecting from others. Now, it's been mostly the good stuff. I've never done any really bad, like murder or rape, or I haven't done any of the really bad things. But as a sinner, I've sinned. So always finding a balance, because you get to know more about me. And so that's a trade-off. Like, I'm going to say, I'll let you know where mistakes and bad things I've done, good things I've done, for the transparency, but not too much dirty laundry. And also when you first start a relationship, and this is like a relationship, I'm able to respond to pretty much everybody who comments at this point. Hopefully when it gets bigger, I'll still, about 12 I'll be able to respond to, is my view. Where was I? See, I jump around too much. So I get to talk about my past. So that's, a fun thing. But then I have to talk about where I was bad, where I'm embarrassed. And once again, I haven't done anything horrible, none of the big bad things, felonies and all that kind of stuff. But I am a sinner, and I did talk about this a couple of times, and I was sexually traumatized as a young child, and that's made things very confusing for me. Now you can tell me if that's too much dirty laundry. That's my balance. I want it because I'm about to launch a channel, hopefully in February. Maybe not. I'm not going to launch it until it's really ready, until I know I can do it every day and deliver really good content. Maybe some of these interviews, I can interview some of the people that I grew up with in the deep state neighborhood. I'd love to do a duet with Raleigh Flynn, All I Ask of You from Phantom of the Opera. I would love to have her on, interview with her, and then sing duet, All I Ask of You. So my question of the day, the QOD, is how can change be its opposite? I know we've addressed that, but specifically, if you could answer the QOD, because it's a fact. Change has always been around, as far as we know, from the beginning of civilization, beginning of history. So that's consistent. So that's unchanging. How can something be its opposite? And that's the word is. Change is unchanging. That's a fact. It's ironic. Can science answer that? Philosophy, gives it a shot. And then my grade for the IRS. I guess this could be my continuum. And so this would be an A+. IRS, I love you. So can I just give an A+? Oh, I owe some money to the IRS. So I'm just going to give them an A+. But I'm going to say that then I'm going to whisper. When I've called the people they've been the customer service number, very rude, very rude. So they're more over here. But A+ for the IRS. And my former neighbor, who, God rest his soul, he's with the Lord. I mean, he seemed like a really good guy, but he was the CIA. There are people, if you're the CIA, you're not automatically going to hell. There are good people that were in the CIA who did good, who God would like. For us to really know, we can never really know until we get to heaven or hell. I want to avoid that place, and I'm pointing down because that's more dark badness. It is a lake of fire. That's probably more likely inside Earth, in a sense, where there's a lake of fire, than up in the clouds. Oh, where the angels sing. Oh, courage. All right. So I'm king of the forest. So IRS, you get an A+. But really, they're over here because they're really mean on the phone. Where I was saying, why are you so angry at me? Why are you being so mean? So I didn't get sucked into, going right back at them, because know that whenever you're calling someone who has a lot of power over you, because IRS has power of the gun, of jail, things like that. So whenever you are with somebody like that, they're going to try to draw you into making a mistake and saying, "Wah, wah, wah." And I was like, so nice. And so use that. That's the turn the other cheek kind of thing that helps you. So I'm rambling on. So, hey, IRS, Internal Revenue Service, A+. Okay, that's my grade. How can change be its opposite? Is its opposite? What kind of world do we live in? So, oh, I had these taped up here so I could look at the lyrics. So I like to focus. I like to focus on everything, and I'm not playing. Anyway. So thank you. Oh, and the song goes out to Brent, because Brent brought it up yesterday about doing Fly Like an Eagle. So, and I don't have as much room to do the drums, and I keep hitting, that's the seatbelt you're hearing. Time keeps on slipping into the future.